very interesting medium. I mean, it's just looking at thousands of pictures really fast for upwards of 2 hours at a time, and then crying. But something that makes film such a popular genre of entertainment is its ability to manipulate audience emotions. Like that. To really get into a story, a viewer will often end up building an emotional connection to a character, thus developing an empathetic bond in reaction to all events of the story. And in film, when these characters are being played by real actors portraying these events, the empathetic bond strengthens, connecting the viewer and the character's emotions, and putting them under the same control, like puppets under the same crossbreaks. The tugging of these heartstrings doesn't just rely on connections to the characters, however. Filmmakers are smart. They know how to get the reaction that they want with the most subtle techniques, like the pluck of a violin or the dimming of a light. It's fascinating, and I want to know everything. So I set out, digging for information, brainstorming how to use this information in my new imaginary films, and taking a lot of Lego breaks. And no, this wasn't just an excuse to watch a bunch of video essays, set up a castle, and call it schoolwork. You can't prove anything in the court of law. Welcome to TECHNIQUE-TRONICA, a deep dive into the way that Hollywood manipulates more than just their child actors. I'll be your tour guide this evening. One of the biggest ways that filmmakers mold their viewers' emotions is shot composition, or the way elements of a scene are arranged in a camera frame, to quote Studio Binder. They actually have a video on their YouTube channel about shot composition in horror specifically that I will be referencing a lot in this section, and I highly recommend you go watch it. When arranging a scene in a film, every single asset and its placement is a choice that has been made by somebody for a specific reason. Every picture frame, character, junk drawer of anything imaginable has a purpose, no matter how big. On top of their existence, the choice must be made for how they fit together in the camera frame. The Ring is an excellent example of using size difference to tell a story and internalize the fear that the main character feels. In one scene in particular, the main character, Katie, is consistently shot to be smaller than the object she's interacting with, showing just how powerless she is in that situation. This is the part when you go watch Studio Binder's video. They talk so much about this scene specifically, and it's fascinating stuff. Another way that filmmakers push and pull the viewer's emotions is through empty space. Empty space, or negative space, is all of the space around or between a subject. Empty space, empty space, empty space, empty space. I had to do it at least once. There's the other pedal. Gosh. Golly. Come on, guys. By the way, if I'm not asked out by a Lego bouquet on Valentine's Day this year, I'm gonna throw a fit, okay? Just so everyone's ready for that. I'm thirsty. I need milk after this. That'll be my reward for finishing this recording. This concept of empty space is expertly used during the opening scene of Punch Drunk Love, in which the main character is seen discussing a mundane advertising matter on a phone call in the corner of the emptiest office ever, later discovered to be what looked like a storage unit or a garage. The man, Barry, and his desk are the only thing in the entire unit, and their placement off to the side of the frame makes the empty space seem even bigger than it is. This composition communicates incredibly well the theme of loneliness and isolation that the character faces. For legal and ethical reasons, I'd like to make known this is an R-rated film that I have not watched. I learned about this opening scene in specific in the basic plot of this character's journey while researching this topic. Please don't sue me. Along a similar line, the angle of a camera can show how viewers are supposed to feel about a certain subject. Just the difference between a high and low angle can bring the viewer into the film, feeling the same feelings as the characters, and giving psychological hints as to the tone of the scene. The effect of shooting at a higher or lower angle is to force the viewer to literally look up at the dominant character and look down at the inferior character. Shooting up at a character makes them appear bigger, taller, and stronger, which psychologically makes them feel more dominant. Think back to when you were a child and you always looked up at your parents. You somehow always felt like they were larger than life and therefore superior to you. The same effect happens when you shoot up at a character. Shooting down at a character has the exact opposite effect by making the character seem smaller and more diminutive, thus making them seem more inferior. Think of all the scenes you've watched where someone is being beaten up on the ground. The camera is almost always pointing down at them, making them seem much weaker in the moment. Another thing that filmmakers manipulate to evoke emotion in a film is lighting, which can be broken down into many categories, mainly including brightness and the angle. Color also comes into play, but it's the same psychology used for editing, color theory, so we'll just cover all that at once later. Now, we get to dive deep into my favorite part of the filmmaking journey, the editing. One of the biggest tools that any filmmaker has for shifting tone and emotion in a film is their editing. In the editing room, the editor can change the color, sound design, size, and pacing of the footage, as well as hundreds of other changes, to make the raw footage into an actual film. One part of the editing process is color grading, in which the editor has full control of the colors of the footage. The color profile of the film can be edited during editing or during the filming stage through clever set design or colored lights. Regardless of how you do it though, one of the biggest indicators of emotion and tone in film is the use of color theory. While color perception and the emotional responses certainly vary depending on experience and culture, there are some generally accepted consistencies. Warmer tones like red and orange often symbolize passion, warmth, and love, while cooler colors like green and blue are commonly associated with colder and more or less negative feelings, like loneliness, jealousy, or depression. On top of universally accepted color theories, filmmakers can also associate colors with themes or subjects throughout the film. This association is used expertly in Palm Springs, a 2020 film directed by Max Barbakow and starring Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. In an Awards Daily interview with cinematographer Quinn Tran, the interviewer mentions noticing this color consistency. The color orange plays a very prominent role in their love story. We use it for the cave light, the color of the tent, the orange firelight from the campfire scene, and then finally in the birthday party for Niles. When Niles is at the bar and he finally recognizes that Sarah is the reason for his existence, I have an in-camera light gag where all the lights go dim in the bar and the color on her face goes from a neutral white to a deep reddish orange. By changing the color, I hope that at the subconscious level we would see the glow of the campfire, the cave light, and know that in those moments that's when Niles and Sarah had their deepest connection. While I could go into detail about thousands of other filmmaking techniques used to produce these effects, I think we have enough for a solid understanding of one concept. Filmmakers are psychological masterminds. And with that, I begin the next phase, trying to reproduce these effects. Enjoy.